call the meeting to order. I invite you to join with me in the invocation. Dear Lord, we come to you in prayer at a time when we celebrate the freedom the people of our nation enjoy and expect. We ask for protection of all people, our military, and our leaders. In times of concern, we ask for acceptance and love of all individuals as you have created us as equal. Let us move beyond hatred and discord and show respect to everyone. Make us the eyes and ears of the community so that we hear and see what is needed, and let us make decisions that encourage us all to help one another. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Tonight, first, we have a presentation. I'll ask the Parks and Rec staff to meet me at the front. Yeah, balance it out here. Okay. This is the designation of July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Albemarle, North Carolina. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of our local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptive infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas Albemarle, North Carolina, recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Albemarle City Council that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in Albemarle, North Carolina. On behalf of all the city council, thank you very much for all you do. It's been a very active year this year due to some of the storms, but you've done a good job in keeping our parks going. Thank you very much. Anything you would like to say?
Sure. Yeah, I'd just like to say that this is the 40th year since this designation as July's Park and Recreation Month. The U.S. House of Representatives designated July as Park and Recreation Month in 1985. So 40th year, so that's exciting. And also, there are 5 staff here. We have 17 full-time staff that keep our parks and recreation going, to make sure that, when people are, recreating, which is mainly, when you're off work, um, that, you're able to do that seamlessly, and pleasurably and safely. And then in the summer, right now, our pools are still open. We're giving, swim lessons right now, so, we still have, we balloon up to about 60 staff in the summer. So, um, just wanted to recognize, the staff that always make our department look really, really good.
Thank you. Thank you again to all the staff. Next is our annual presentation from Retail Strategies.
Hi, good evening. Joshua Davis, our Portfolio Director from Retail Strategies, is here today along with his colleague, Zachary Price. If you guys have any questions for him at the end, he'll be happy to answer whatever he can.
Good evening, everyone. City of Albemarle Council. Again, my name is Joshua Davis, and I serve as Portfolio Director for the City of Albemarle from Retail Strategies. Every year, we get a chance to come into the market, throughout our partnership and BOG and tour the market and see all the changing, parts that come along with retail development. So that's what we had a chance to do today. And today, we're going to present the annual presentation, on our behalf. This is a little unique because it'll cover 3 years from our partnership. So it'll cover from 2023 all the way to 2025, 22 to 25. But again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns towards the end of the presentation, I'd be more than willing to answer those. Again, just a couple quick housekeeping rules. You guys have the confidential version, so I'm going to be discussing a lot of retailers, properties, developments along in the Albemarle market, and for confidential reasons, I'll be presenting the redacted version. You guys will have the confidential version. And again, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask at the end. But again, we've had a chance to work with the City of Albemarle now for going on 11 years this year. And our company is Retail Strategies, which we partner with the cities across the U.S. We've had a chance historically to partner with over 800 cities throughout the U.S. Myself and Zach, we partner with about 30 across both states, North and South Carolina. Again, we've had a chance to work with the City of Albemarle now for over 11 years. So who are we? What do we do? What's our process? Obviously, when we get logged on with the city, we do an extensive data demographics package. That's looking at your customized trade area, which we make, on our behalf. That coincides with your data demographics package. We look at, all the moving parts as far as population, trends, leakage report that we'll talk about here in a second. You guys get that updated on an annual basis. Because when we're talking to different retailers, developers, they want to see it from the most recent point of view, when they're making decisions on behalf of real estate committees. If they're tasked to open up 30 stores in North Carolina, we want to give them the most up-to-date version of Albemarle's data demographics. Again, we do our annual boots on the ground tour that we had a chance to do today, where we spend about 2 hours, looking at each area of the market, looking at different properties that could be developed, different inline vacancies, different retailers that's already existed in the market, and kind of looking at our prospect list to see who we can plug and play in those opportunities in the market. Day after day, Zach and I, we spend a lot of time looking at those different opportunities in the market. And it kind of coincides with, all the prospects that we have a chance to speak with on behalf of the City of Albemarle. Some of these guys who we get a chance to speak to at different trade shows that we represent the City of Albemarle on an annual basis. Some of those are kind of in our backyard in Charlotte, ICSC Carolinas, that we had a chance to go to again this year in March. ICSC Southeast, that we'll have a chance to go to later this year in October, and then ICSC Las Vegas, which is like our Super Bowl, that we get a chance to go to every year in May. And some of these trade shows are a lot bigger than others. If you think about Any retailers, your Bills, your TJ Maxx, Starbucks, a lot of these guys have tenant representation, brokers, developers who are looking for different opportunities to do developments in the market. And we're tasked to put all those opportunities in Albemarle in front of these guys' plate to see if it coincides with some of the developments they want to do on an annual basis or over the next 2 to 3 years. You guys already do a lot. Our point of contact, Lindsay, does a lot on the city's behalf, and we want to come in to to be an investment multiplier. Whether it's taking some of those prospects, coupling those with local property owners in the market, and seeing if it can be a situation to where we can have a match made in heaven for an additional retail development win in the market. Speaking on retail development wins, again, we've had a chance to work with you guys for quite some time now, and we have played a huge role in some of the retails that you see on the page today. Obviously, we know what different flagship retails like a Chick-fil-A or a Biscuitville, or even a Planet Fitness store and Ollie's can play in the community, whether it's putting a certain percentage into the tax base or creating jobs in the area. But if you look at the retail ladder, we kind of want to make our way up the retail ladder year over year. So it's not always a situation in the first 3 years of our partnership where we can land a Chick-fil-A or a Jersey Mike's. But in creating that trust-based relationship with some of these retailers that are looking for opportunities in the market, it kind of puts us in a unique situation to where after year 3 of explaining the data and demographics in the Albemarle market, coinciding that with their tasked to open up several different opportunities in whether it's North and South Carolina or over the span of the U.S. To create some of these wins in the market. Again, so we had a chance to play a huge role in all of these, and just kind of wanted you guys to have a clear understanding of what our track record is over the last 11 years. Leakage report is we spend a huge amount of time looking at leakage report that goes in our data demographics package because we don't want to just be throwing spitballing at the wall as far as, hey, how can we land a full service restaurant in the market? How can we land a big box development? We want to see what number of the population that are existing in Albemarle are leaving the customized trade area to shop at, whether it's a full service restaurant, a big box retailer, whether it's a C store, whatever the case may be, and how can we use that data and demographics to quantify a retail development in the market. And as you can see, some of these are opportunity gaps and some of these are an influx in the market. So as an example, automotive parts is, you guys have a large influx of automotive parts in the market that's in that retail category, but department stores, retail, department stores, C stores, full service restaurants, those are all the dollars that are currently leaving the customized trade area and going to some of the neighboring communities. So some of these players that we'll talk about here in a second, some of the guys you already see in your packet, is the reason why we have some of these guys as prospects for over 2 years, 5 years, and some of these well over 7 years. To see, how can we, create a situation where if there's a vacancy that's present in the market over the course of our partnership to land some of these guys in the market so we can keep some of those dollars in the Albemarle market.
So before you go on,
Yeah.
what is, so that for the folks that are watching, a C store,
Convenience stores.
okay,
So Quick Trip, Circle
That's-
K, anywhere where you go get gas and fill
Gotcha.
up. You go in if you're in Tennessee, buy a lottery ticket, whatever the case may be.
Gotcha.
Go in and get some Skittles and some
And while
Doritos.
you're talking about convenience stores, I see the opportunity gap at
Yeah.
18 million. But on the average for a convenience store,
Mhm.
about how much average annual revenue for a convenience store?
So that's a great question. So what we look at, from the average convenience store, I would probably say between 3 to 7 million. And if you we'll look at, I'll use another example of grocery stores. If you think about some of your flagship grocery stores on an annual basis, flagship, these guys are doing $52 million a year. Kind of middle of the road, $25, $30 million a year. So if you see the opportunity gap of $120 million in that retail section for grocery stores, that's the number of that's the number, the dollar amount that's leaving the customized trade area. So if we have a handful of grocery stores developers that are looking at the market, we can say, hey, we can say for certain that okay, if this player is doing 50 million, you're doing 20. We still feel comfortable keeping you as prospects because it didn't touch that 120 million. What you got?
Just curious, grocery stores, there's an opportunity gap of 120 million. Where are they buying that now? Locust and places like that?
So neighboring communities, yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm a jeweler. Where would jewelry stores be in here?
So we have a section for jewelry stores. So it
Don't
breaks
say
it
out
down.
lou- Don't say it out loud.
Okay, all right. But on an annual, like I mentioned, on an annual basis, we run that information, so you guys can have a real, up close and personal view on what that leakage is. So jury might not be 30, 40 million, but there is there is a section of the of that retail sector that coincides with jury that's leaving the market.
Starbucks, 948 million, thousand, estimated employees per store 20. Those numbers don't figure.
So those
You can't hire 20 people with your gross sales only 948,000.
Well, you can. So Starbucks, on average, they hire about 20 different employees. You have first shift, second shift, whatever case may be. Some people work on Monday, Wednesday. Some people work Monday through
Yeah, but
Friday.
as a retailer, I'm going through the mathematics of gross sales, then the cost of goods sold and all of that. And when I do that, I can't come up with enough money to hire 20 people.
They're not full-time.
Part-time.
They're
Right, yeah,
very
these are
part-time.
part-time employees. But and then Starbucks, Seven Brews, Scooters. I would say if you put all those in that coffee shop category, Starbucks would be your flagship. So you guys were lucky enough to get a Seven Brew. They're not quite doing a 940,000 in a market. So hopefully that answers your question. Anything?
Uh,
Gotcha. So through the years, you guys have the confidential version. These are some of the retailers that we had a chance to interact with that are either currently looking at the market, two, had a chance to analyze the market, but one is Zach and I to kind of keep them updated on different retail development opportunities, that are in the market over the next 2 or 3 years. So these are some of the ones in our contract. We're contracted to reach out to 30 different retailers. On an annual basis, we blow that number out the water, but just kind of want you guys to be privy to some of these different retailers that are either currently looking at the market or have either looked at the market, saw different opportunities, and wanted us to keep them updated over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. And we'll talk about some different retailers.
What about office supply?
Office supply. So
I don't see that in here anywhere.
yeah, so over the course of a year, we're privy to different retail types that are growing, as opposed to other ones that are not growing. If you think about that office supply category, and as far as retail, those guys aren't just growing right now. I can go into the rabbit hole of how the office sector of real estate guys aren't going into the office full time now. You have different work from home opportunities that kind of align with different companies, but your traditional, Office Depot or Office Max, those guys just aren't growing right now.
Well, we have a good office supply place, but there's no place where you can walk into a store. You have to
Right.
call and that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. And then if you think about e-commerce, you have, different guys like Amazon where you can get, you have a large selection of office supplies at your disposal as opposed to, driving your BMW or your Audi to, office supply store, and being privy to purchase some of those items. But again, we have a very extensive prospect list of retailers that we reach out to, and a lot of that is because these guys are growing. Office supply isn't growing right now. All right. Again, you guys have the confidential version. We didn't mind putting some of these in the report to speak about on, as far as their name specifically. Starbucks is one that we had a chance to land in the market over the last 3 years. And just to give you guys a timeline of how some of these deals come to fruition, Starbucks was a retailer that we had started, interacting with early in our partnership. We kind of curated a prospect list of 30 different retailers when we first started with any of our partners, and Albemarle was no exception to that rule. But if you think about a new retailer that opens their doors, whether you see them, pop up, this year or over the next couple of years, just for behind the scenes, a lot of these guys are one, analyzing the market for several years. Two, they have to get these developments passed through a real estate committee. They have a different number that comes through Wall Street. And a lot of these deals can be, stretched out over a 3 to 5 year period. Again, Starbucks was no exception to the rule. We had a chance to, continue to speak with their real estate developers year over year, give them different data demographics on an annual basis on the Albemarle market. Then we had a situation to where we had one property owner, we had a chance to land Starbucks, Biscuitville, and Chick-fil-A, all adjoining. So Starbucks was one that we had a chance to land the market over the last 3 years, but we had started speaking with their real estate team early on in our partnership. Jersey Mike's is another one that we had a chance to give their team a different opportunity to review a couple different properties in the market. They chose to go inline outside the shopping center on 24, 27. And then if you guys see these two regional grocery stores, when we interact with different grocery developers, the number one thing that they want to see in the market is residential. We interact with these guys. We give them different sites that they can analyze in the market. And before they can create a package, to give to their real estate committee, they want to see where are the rooftops, where's the percentage of the guys that are or families that will shop at our establishment, where are they living, when are these houses or single family, multifamily, developments coming to fruition. And if that's over a 3 to 5 year period, great. Those guys are going to analyze the market over a 3 to 5 year period. But on average, when we interact with some of the flagship grocers or some of these guys you see on the report today, they're looking at that sweet spot of 2,000 to 3,000 residential or multifamily homes over the course of a couple of years. I think you guys are ahead of that curve, so we don't mind giving different opportunities in the Albemarle market to some of the developers that you see on the report today. Some of these guys have been looking at the market now for quite some time. If you think back to 2014 as opposed to 2025, these guys have looked at the market, ended up passing, but we don't see that as a end all be all. No, we want to just continue to to drip in that bucket of what's changing the Albemarle market. If there's any new developments that are that you guys are privy to, want to just keep reminding them on that so they can make a better decision going forward, and they'll be able to quantify to the decision makers and that have the bigger decision that'll be made for development down the line. Some of these other guys. So the first one, let me make sure I got my notes right. National Sporting Good retailer. We had a chance to speak with him this year at ICSC Carolinas. He's currently, looking at some existing big box opportunities in the market. They're not opposed to doing a ground up development, but in the economy that we're in right now, a lot of the guys, if you're talking about big box, they want to backfill an existing space. So if you guys have any, big box vacancies, we're creating a prospect list, Zach and I, to reach out to some of these guys. This was one of them who was already privy to the Albemarle market, who wanted us to kind of keep him engaged on, all the ins and outs of the market. We had a chance to put him in contact with a player in the Albemarle market. Numbers were exchanged. Currently, they weren't able to come up with the deal. But this will be a retail developer that will kind of keep posted on different opportunities in the market. It may be a situation to where it wouldn't be backfilling a big box, but they may have to pivot to a ground up development. But we'll kind of cross that bridge once we get to that point. Some of these other guys that you see. You guys have a big box that is vacant in the market, and again, we create a prospect list of guys who can easily backfill those spaces. Some of these guys are rapidly, expanding in North Carolina. Some of them aren't, but for in whatever case, we want to have them, privy to different opportunities in the market. Kind of going all the way down to the bottom page to the National Burger QSR. This is one that we've been talking to for a couple of years now. They only want to purchase. So in certain situations, if you're talking about a vacant piece of land, they only want to purchase, can kind of be tricky because these guys want to be rubbing elbows with different retailers that are considered their peers in the market. So some of these, again, we've been talking to for quite some time now, and some of these are kind of newer prospects that Zach and I have interacted with. All right, make sure we're on track. Well, going back real quick. National Smoothie QSR. This is one that we interacted with the latter part of last year, and we had a chance to get their team to analyze 2 different properties in the market. 2 of which they put LOIs in. They wanted to do a drive-through concept on one. The other one, they weren't opposed to just going inline. For one property, they couldn't get the numbers to pencil with the property owner. The property owner was kind of playing hardball with them, so they pivoted to the other one. But for that one as well, they weren't able to pencil a deal. This is still a prospect that we'll interact with, throughout the course of our partnership. If there's a new commercial development that kind of comes along over the next couple of years, this will be probably a prospect that can be a quick plug and play. They're already privy to the data demographics about the market. They've already had a chance to analyze both sites. So the more the different opportunities that we can put in front of their plate, the more they'll be able to make a better quantifiable decision. So again, on this one, that first one is another national sporting good brand. This is one, coming back from ICSC Carolinas and then being able to go to ICSC Las Vegas was one that we had a chance to interact with for quite some time. This is another one that they only want to backfill existing big box locations. But this is a retailer that's very, when they get into the weeds of, their development, will kind of, I'll probably say stern on incentives. In certain communities, incentives aren't necessarily, you guys aren't just slinging incentives out left and right. So we kind of have to be kind of strategic with this retailer. But this is another one that's actively pursuing sites in the market, and the one that we'll kind of keep in our back pocket for quite some time. The national beauty retailer and a couple of these other ones that are national discount apparel and home decor, we had a chance to interact with the tenant rep who was very influential and a part of bringing the existing national discount retailer to the market. And we had a chance to kind of talk to her about some different prospects that could probably be best case scenario for the Albemarle market. She had a chance to inform us that she wasn't keen on creating or creating a package to give to her real estate committee just based on some of the annual revenue that the current store is doing. So if she sees an influx in that number to make a better judgment on creating a new development in the Albemarle market, that's something that we'll revisit. But for right now, she's deciding to pass on the market. National Wing Restaurant. This is a guy that we had a chance to interact with who only wants to backfill existing fast casual restaurants. And fast casual, so just some quick homework. QSR, when we refer to that as quick service restaurant, that's limited seating area inside, drive-through only, minimum parking spaces. Fast casual restaurant, you can go in and get your food inside. You'll be able to sit outside, kind of a little bit more parking spaces outside. And then full service restaurant are your restaurants where you can go in, maximum seating area inside and maximum 100, 150 parking spaces outside. This is one that he only wants to backfill second generation restaurants. He kind of wants to keep a pulse on those opportunities in the Albemarle market. Again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, I'll be more than willing to answer them right now.
Council, have any questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank
your effort.
you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next is the strategic plan success, improving technology infrastructure. Mr. Clark.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm going to recognize Owen Squires, our Information Services Director. Owen?
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and City Manager. Tonight, we're here to share a success story that really does go to the heart of our strategic plan and goals. We've all made a marked effort to focus on infrastructure as one of the 5 main goal areas, and we often think of infrastructure as our roads or electric lines, water lines, et cetera. And tonight, I'll demonstrate how we've taken a significant step to enhance the resiliency of our technology infrastructure, specifically our network systems. And they support every aspect of operations, customer service phone calls to police and fire communications to managing those systems, those water and electrical distribution systems. And we all recognize, I believe, that our citywide operations do depend on having a secure and resilient network environment. One of the, just some homework, some background information analogies, if you will. We often think of our network as the same as our electric system. When you're at home, you plug in a toaster, you plug it into an outlet. And same way, though, if you have your laptop or your tablet, you need to connect it to the internet, to a network connection. And same way for that electrical outlet to work, it plugs into a breaker somewhere in your house, somewhere in your business. And the same way for network access to work, it's got to plug into a switch somewhere, that network connection somewhere. If we go the next step forward, all of those outlets, all those breakers connect to substations, that are scattered around the city. We've got 3 of them, main substations. The same way, all of those network switches, they connect to the internet. That's where we get our tools, our web interfaces, our applications today, is by pulling those resources today off the internet. We all recognize, I believe, our technology environment is changed a lot over the last just several years. And I think we can all remember when we used to use CD-ROMs or floppy disks to load programs or store files on. And that software, those systems were updated, if we're lucky, once a year. Now, using the internet, that's live, that's dynamic, that's immediate. Because of security patches and application updates, those are updated live for us. In the old days, staff received their work orders by first thing in the morning. They'd print out or write down what their tasks were for the day. And supervisors didn't get updates until the end of the day. Now, those updates are immediate. Staff throughout the day use tablets, smartphones to connect not just with their supervisors, but with citizens as well and other staff members. That process has fundamentally changed how work is managed for all city staff. The trick is, though, what happens if those connections are disrupted? And we've been proactively working on that for those what ifs. What happens if something goes sideways? So we knew we needed a cost-effective and efficient solution to satisfy what is a very diverse environment. We have a lot of different things that the Albemarle uses. So comparing options, we partnered with Kinetic Windstream for the city's voice and data infrastructure. And the result is we developed a series of backup connections that support that resiliency. If the primary network connection goes offline, the backup kicks in automatically. And how do we know this? As a test, in the middle of the day, about 2 months ago, we shut off the network connection to our network. The failover connection kicked in automatically. This was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We literally unplugged the internet, and our secondary connection kicked in. None of our staff knew anything. Calls weren't dropped. Citizens did not stop being able to access the city. It just worked. We cheered. Just frankly, when that happened and we were able to successfully test this, we cheered. This is a joke. This is Nia's slide. Nia's primary goal is as our network infrastructure analyst. He works on maintaining these connections for us. Before we implemented this failover process, network issues were getting fixed, but understanding root cause analysis, that sometimes took days, weeks to get that detailed information back. And now we can log into different portals and see detailed traffic patterns of what's happening in any given moment of the day. This real-time visibility lets us detect issues early. We can adjust settings on the network connections. And in short, we ensure a stable network infrastructure for all of our sites. And this is essential for maintaining our operations. It's just critical that we were able to see this live data. And the system also automatically recognizes faults in the system. So if there's a fault in any part of our connections, then it generates tickets for us. So we start from a position of data. It's not from a guess on what's happening. We're able to start resolution with a known quantity. And you can say this just lets us spot those problems. We get those automatic email updates, and we were able to start the resolution again from a known perspective, not from a guess or a perception of what's going on. In addition to network services as a whole, we've completed a full-scale upgrade and replacement of our phone system. The city's old phone system required those physical copper wires, and they were difficult and expensive to maintain. The city needed a more flexible, just a future-focused phone system to route calls. Quick anecdotal, I was on a meeting with a vendor relationships committee with Nickel Jeza group, and AT&T has announced that copper B1 lines, what we used to pay $40 a month for, those are being end of life in December of 2025. If cities that use AT&T copper B1 lines after December, they're going to be paying $1,000 a month for a single phone line through AT&T. They don't want you to use copper. They want you to transition to these network-connected phone systems. And with this new phone system directly impacting us, we're able to gain the ability to reroute those calls again in real time. So, example, this allowed us to implement the Doppler outage management system, and the way we were able to do it, citizens didn't change the phone number. Several people have memorized 984-9679 is built into our citizens' head. That's the number you call if you have an electrical outage. With Doppler, what we're doing is rerouting that number to the Doppler system, and our citizens, our staff didn't have to change anything. The flexibility of rerouting those calls is what we're able to do. And if there's ever an issue with the network as a whole, we can change those DID numbers, those phone numbers, to go to a cell phone or go to some other phone somewhere, some other number, so that service is not interrupted. We can do that live in the portal. Lessons learned. I mean, there's a lot of things we learned during implementation. The real goal is what we're trying to build is an infrastructure that allows individual departmental needs to build their own dreams, their own services. So our primary goal for infrastructure is to provide a platform that every department can use, and to build and anticipate their future needs, their future applications. That's our goal. Is how do we sustain it? How do we make this consistent? The term I use is utility-like. We don't want you to have to think about when you walk in a room and turn on a light switch. In the same way, we don't want you to have to think about you turn on your laptop or your tablet, where does it go? And frankly, our project has not gone unnoticed. I was very happy to get this quote from Greg Haas at North Carolina Department of Public Safety. They've spent the last year, honestly, since Helene, trying to talk their carriers into reinforcing how important it is for cities, counties, agencies to build these resilient network infrastructures. The good news is we were ahead of the curve. We started this early last fall, the actual turn on of these resilient services, and it's gone well for us. I'll answer any questions. Yeah, let's start with, I do want to recognize not just NIA. NIA is our core for maintaining our network environment, but this has been a huge process, a huge project for everybody on the information systems team. And it's been a huge success too. In the same way, I have to recognize there are a lot of people at Kinetic, Mike Johnson, et cetera, that helped us during this implementation, and they're a great partner. Uh, there's a copy of the actual public release that's going to happen tomorrow morning at your desks. There's a copy of the actual case study. It's very technical, quite honestly. It is targeted at people like myself or Nia, trying to get them to understand how important these things are. But and huge thank to David Fath for translating this very technical case study into something that's for public consumption. But I appreciate it, and I'll answer any questions you have. Anything I
Council
can
have
do.
any questions? Thank you, Owen.
Chris, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, Owen, I wish I knew enough about what you're talking about to be able to ask you a question, but I appreciate what y'all have done.
Well,
I think I do.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bamlin. That's why saying the slide about plugging in a toaster, that really is where we're going for technology. We want the use of technology to be so simple as you want to plug in a toaster. That's our goal.
Thank you.
But thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Owen. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes for the June 16th, 2025 regular session, June 16th, 2025 closed session for consult with attorney, real estate, and personnel.
Move approval.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Aldridge to approve, second by Councilmember Dry. Further discussion?
I just would recuse myself since I was not here that night
Okay.
from the vote.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're going to move to a public hearing, and let me make a statement up front. We had this public hearing, or a similar public hearing, a few weeks ago, and we had to stop the hearing and not take any action due to an error in an advertisement. Tonight, this starts the public hearing over. So if you spoke at the last public hearing, you will have to speak again tonight. We will not consider anything from the last public hearing. First, I'm going to have staff introduce the project. Then I will allow the applicant to make comments. And then I have quite a few people that have signed up to speak. And I'll remind you that you signed up, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Also, if there are more than 10 speakers for or 10 speakers against, then anyone after that 10th speaker will not be allowed to speak. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. Staff has handed out a printed copy of the staff analysis that features the decision and recommendation made by the planning board. As I know, the one in your agenda packet did not have that. That's the only difference between what's been handed to you and what's in your packet, that recommendation. So we are hearing the case ZMA 25-01, a request for a rezoning by Faith Alive Ministries on behalf of Jordan Whitley for the address of 936 North Fifth Street, associated with tax record 13381. The location is near the intersection of North Fifth and Yatkin Street, and the parcel size is just about 1.48 acres. The existing use is R10 residential with a proposed use of HMD Hospital Medical District. The applicant's proposed statement reads as, over the past several years, the city of Albemarle has seen a growing need for holistic support services for vulnerable populations, particularly children entering foster care and widows facing isolation. The increasing demands placed on local Department of Social Services staff, as well as the lack of emergency placement options for children, highlighting a gap in resources that directly affects public health and welfare. Faith Alive Ministries seeks to meet these needs by transforming a residential property into a mixed-use space that functions as both an administrative hub and a resource center for the community. This location would provide a safe, temporary bedroom for children in crisis, a satellite workspace for case managers, and a centralized office to coordinate services, including widow support gatherings, foster care drives, and family outreach efforts. The proposed zoning amendment is reasonably necessary to promote the general welfare by creating a space that offers safety, sustainability, and support to at-risk populations in Albemarle. It also aligns with the city's interest in expanding compassionate, community-focused services within neighborhoods, improving outcomes for children's, family, and individuals across Stanley County. Existing use on the parcel outlined here in blue is a single-family residential home with proposed use of counseling administrative offices, water, sewer, and power already on the site. Topography is level, and it's not under any other development constraints such as the watershed or floodplain. This is the current zoning map showing that the parcel and adjoining parcels are currently zoned R10 in the yellow, and across the street is zoned HMD Hospital Medical in the light blue. Staff believes that many council members know what general residential district is, so I won't read that. Hospital Medical District, our ordinance states the regulations for hospital medical center districts are intended to provide a restricted hospital medical center district and related facilities. Land use to the north is single-family residential and a few medical offices. To the east, single-family residential, to the south, single-family residential, and to the west, hospital and medical offices. The future land use map classifies the subject parcel as general residential and industrial in blue, so it's sort of on the edge here. The star is a little misaligned. The parcel's actually right about here. With regards to the future land use map, general residential is classified as areas within the corporate city limits that include many mature neighborhoods. Public utilities are available, and extensive roads and sidewalk networks already exist. These areas are intended to provide residential infill development with a wide array of housing types surrounding the town area. Low-intensity business uses located in mixed-use buildings or buildings designed and constructed at a residential scale and appearance are also appropriate in this classification. Development considerations include the compatibility of infill development with existing building patterns. For the office and industrial use classification, which would be the blue on the future land use map, these areas are intended to accommodate office and institutional uses, public and private medical facilities and associated services, independent and assisted living facilities, schools, colleges, and limited commercial uses. Development considerations include traffic, compatibility with abutting residential areas, the appearance of new and existing development, as well as the availability of adequate infrastructure. Staff comments. The property is currently zoned R10, general residential, with a small tract, approximately half an acre, consisting of one single-family home. The area is a mix of single-family homes, duplexes, medical offices, and hospital facilities. The future land use map designates the parcel as general residential, which allows for low to medium density residential as well as limited business and community uses at a residential scale and appearance. The property is also immediately adjacent to and partially designated as office and industrial, which prioritizes medical offices, independent and assisted livings, and other uses consistent with HMD zoning district, which covers the immediate area. Much of the block adjacent to the hospital features a mix of homes and offices, some being residential conversions. The size of the property, scale of the existing structure, and uses permitted in HMD are lower in intensity and scale and keep in the character of the area and intent of the future land use plan. Staff believes that there are merits to this requested rezoning and find it to be generally consistent with the future land use map. And in addition, in your packet, you have that on January 5th, the planning board voted unanimously in 4-1 to recommend council to approve the requested rezoning to HMD Hospital Medical District with a statement of consistency and reasonableness.
Stop
Say
right.
that
You said
again.
4-1.
That
You
was-
conflicted.
yeah.
Say that again.
When did planning board meet?
4-0, sorry.
When did they meet?
They met June 5th,
Okay, you indicated earlier that it was January 5th.
sorry.
That's okay.
June 5th, unanimous 4-0.
So again, just right there. 4-0, were there 4 folks at that planning board meeting?
Yeah, there were 4 folks in addition to the chair, so we did have a quorum at the time with the amount of open seats, and the chair did not vote, as there wasn't.
So there was a quorum approved that night
Mhm.
with 4 people.
Continue.
Staff has provided zoning consistency statements for the adopted plans here with a statement of consistency and reasonableness, a statement of inconsistency and unreasonableness, and a statement of future land use map amendment. In your package, you also have the applicant's zoning map amendment application, a copy of the adjoiner mailings that were sent out, and a copy of the ad that ran in the Stanley News and Press.
And again, I'm going to go back and ask for specifics. The Stanley News and Press is no longer. So did it run in the current Stanley Journal or?
Yeah, the Stanley Journal,
It
is
did.
that
I
what
read
they
it.
changed the
I
name
read it,
to?
checked
Did,
it.
but it did approve, and with the correct address and all that, okay. And within the body that's been handed out to us, on page 7 of 7, under other information and attachments, there is a number 4, but there is not information attached to number 4. Is there something that we are missing or not?
No, there is nothing you are
So that
missing.
4 should not have been there. Is that
Yeah, the
correct?
4 is a typo.
Continue.
Staff has nothing else.
Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. I'll ask the applicant to come forward, Jordan Whitley, if you care to speak.
Good evening again, Mayor, council members, and city staff. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Jordan Whitley, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of Faith Alive Ministries, a nonprofit organization rooted right here in Stanley County. Our mission is simple yet vital: to meet the physical and spiritual needs of orphans, widows, and the brokenhearted, a mission grounded in James 1:27 and carried out every day through hands-on, compassionate care, what we call faith in action. I'm here this evening to speak about our rezoning request for 936 North 5th Street, a property that we are currently under contract to purchase, pending this council's approval. This space would allow us to expand our outreach in a way that is truly needed and deeply meaningful. If approved, this home would serve 2 main purposes. First, it will be a daytime office for our very small team of 4 staff members. From this home base, we will continue and grow our programs for local widows and foster, adoptive, and kinship families. For our widows, this means service projects, help with minor home repairs, and a chance to gather for fellowship and encouragement through our Women of Purpose program. For our foster, adoptive, and kinship families, we provide care packages for children entering foster care. We organize supply drives. We host family gatherings in partnership with local churches. And we stand beside caregivers as they navigate the unique challenges that come with trauma and transition for children in these situations. We've also worked this year with Baptist Children's Home to license 4 new families in Stanley County. Secondly, This house would serve as a short-term overnight refuge for children entering the foster care system. Right now, many children are removed from unsafe homes, spend their first night on an air mattress at DSS, scared, confused, and without a sense of security. This home will not be a group home or a place for long-term stays, but rather a warm, safe place for a night or two while DSS works to find the best placement for each child. It's about dignity and care in some of the most frightening moments of a child's life. I want to directly address concerns that were mentioned from some neighbors at last month's meetings about the safety and structure of this setting. While this home will not be a licensed foster care home, we are working closely with Stanley County DSS to ensure that it meets all the same inspection standards and safety precautions as licensed foster homes. That includes fire safety measures, medication storage, locks, and emergency protocols. Additionally, children will never be in the home unsupervised. There will always be 2 trained adults present whenever a child is staying at the home. Outdoor play will only happen within a fully fenced backyard, providing a safe and secure space for kids to simply be kids. Our goal is to continue our efforts in a way that brings minimal impact to the neighborhood, staff during business hours, and occasional DSS usage in the evening. We are committed to being respectful, responsible neighbors who add value to the community, not disruption. Tonight, you will hear from several widows and foster and adoptive families who have graciously come to share how Faith Alive Ministries has impacted their lives personally. Their stories are living proof that this mission matters and that this home would help us serve even more widows and families right here in Albemarle, Stanley County, and around the world. At Faith Alive Ministries, we believe every child in crisis deserves more than an office floor. They deserve comfort, security, and hope. And we believe our widows deserve to be remembered, supported, and never left to feel alone. This home will allow us to continue doing that work and to do it with even greater compassion, care, and impact than ever before. Thank you for considering our request and for the way that you faithfully serve our city. I welcome any questions that you might have.
Council have any questions?
I don't right now, but I may at a, well, yes, I am. Back up. You made the comment that that if a child were there of an emergency removal,
Mhm.
having worked in it for 30 years, I can just imagine what they're going to be doing or why they were there at the middle of the night. You said 2 people would be there. Would one of them still be a social worker?
Always.
Okay.
Yes,
Would
ma'am.
one of them or both of them?
Both of them would be county employees.
Okay, okay. Because I know that right now, as I understand it, the children who are staying at DSS, because we don't have enough foster families or enough placements, they're taking different social workers, taking 2 or 3 or 4 hours
They are.
shifts even into the night. Is that what would happen there, or you would have one station?
Essentially, so the ministry has offered volunteers. We've background checked several volunteers that could be the second set of eyes on the child, but the custody of the child would always remain with a county employee.
Right.
And even the volunteers that we've recruited, they're volunteers, and a lot of these placements are, they're looking for shifts from 12A to 4A. So volunteers have their own families. It's been hard to coordinate that. So essentially, the program that we're presenting is that we're offering the safe place and the warm bed. DSS is providing the staff that's going to be staying with the children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to begin calling names. I remind you that you have 3 minutes, and when you hear the tone, please stop. Allison Wally, 12815 Meadow Creek Lane, Pineville.
Yes, sir.
Get near the microphone so we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm a little short.
Thank you.
Just pull it
You
down.
can pull it down.
Oh,
Pull it down.
okay. Uh, so for the past 3 years, I've had the pleasure of serving as a sponsor for 2 young children in the orphanage in India that Faith Alive Ministries has supported. When I first became a sponsor, there was a little under 20 children, and they were sleeping on the floor of the church that is now the orphanage. And in the past 3 years, through the help of Faith Alive Ministries and all of the sponsors that they've obtained, and volunteers, and different community outreach opportunities that they've given the community to help feed into the ministry, the children have all received beds. They've also built on a boys' home next door so that the girls can have an area, the boys can have an area. and they're currently working on building a second floor to the church building itself. And they've also been able to help them get water buffalo and different ways for the children to learn skills that they'll need in life so that the orphanage can become self-sustaining and not require consistent help from the ministry. But it's just another way that they allow people here, remote or close to home, to be able to pour in to other people because they all have a heart for children. The goal is never for them to be the only support system for the children, but to encourage other people to get involved. And so in the past 3 years, to see the work that they've been able to do just not even at home is really inspiring, and it only shows how much they can do here just with having a child be able to sleep in a bed for one night at a time. But they do so much for the community with different community engagement opportunities. They do a kickball tournament. It's been 3 years now, I believe, to help raise funds and give people a way to put their faith into action. And it's so much more than just a ministry. It's a community that gives people a second chance, children and adults, to become part of something bigger than themselves and to give back and to learn how to be generous human beings again, because our world often forgets that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kara Finch, 329 Whispering Hills Drive, Locust.
Good evening. My name is Kara Finch, and I would like to share with you how Faith Alive Ministries has made a difference in my family's life. My husband and I became foster parents over 8 years ago. We participated in the required MAP classes, prepared our home, and went through all of the licensure requirements. We were prepared for everything, or so we thought. No one could have prepared us for the isolation and loneliness that foster parents often experience. You see, no one understands the emotional and mental challenges we and our children face. Friends and even family can at times lack understanding of the challenges that our children face, and that lack of understanding often brings a lot of judgment. Even more challenging is the assumption that once adoption takes place, all is well. Children should somehow miraculously no longer remember the trauma or the losses they experienced. I can tell you this does not happen. In fact, many of the challenges they will face are just beginning at that point. My husband and I have 4 beautiful children. We adopted our youngest 3 children through foster care. Just like my husband and I have experienced isolation and loneliness at times, our children have too. In September of 2023, the Faith Alive Ministries began fostering connections, quarterly gatherings that allow foster and adoptive families to gather, have a meal, and support each other. Our family has attended every event, and it has brought us the opportunity to fellowship with other foster and adoptive families. Our children have been able to meet other children who have or are going through what they've gone through. My husband and I have been able to connect with other foster and adoptive parents who truly understand, and we have been able to offer support and encouragement to other parents as well. Additionally, our biological daughter, who's with me tonight, has been able to connect with other biological children who understand the experiences of being a child in a foster and adoptive home. In addition to that, the Faith Alive Ministries family offers support to us regularly, prays for our family, and encourages us through this journey. The Faith Alive Ministries Dream House will provide a safe space, nutritious meals, warm bed, shower, and care and compassion from trained adults who will provide consistent supervision. I think it's important that we all recognize that the real issue here is that the Dream House would not be necessary if we had enough foster families in our county to provide a safe home for the children who, through no fault of their own, require foster care services. These children experience trauma, loss, fear, and a lot of uncertainty. They deserve a safe space that feels like home, even if it's just for one night. I encourage you, please support Faith Alive Ministries and their efforts to support DSS and the foster children in our county through the Dream House. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda Hartzell, 12161 Island Creek Road, Stanfield.
Good evening. In 2023, I unexpectedly lost my husband of 32 years. Shortly after his death, I became involved with Faith Alive Ministries. A branch of their ministry is called Women of Purpose. Their goal is to offer support to area widows. This ministry has personally encouraged me spiritually, emotionally, and physically by providing help with home repairs I could not do myself. Because of their love, compassion, and patience, I have learned how to reach out to other widows to offer my support through a journey we did not choose to be on. Although we meet in area churches, being in a permanent place will provide women of purpose with the opportunity to join together in a home-like, comfortable setting to continue encouraging one another through our grief journey. Just as I can look back at the help I have received, the children who pass through this temporary place to stay can also look back and remember they were offered a bed to sleep in rather than a cot, a meal at a table rather than a couch or a desk, a chance to watch cartoons and play with toys could provide these displaced children a small sense of peace and security at a pivotal time in their lives. I believe it is our responsibility to help widows and orphans. Faith Alive Ministry does both. Their experience and commitment to excellence will be a wonderful addition in continuing to meet the needs of Stanley County and the city of Albemarle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jody Austin, West Stanley Street, Stanfield. Ma'am, if you would give me a house number when you come up.
House number is 930.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I also am part of the Women of Purpose Ministry. I became a widow in 2022, but because of responsibilities of homeschooling grandchildren, I was not able to participate in Women of Purpose until 2023. And it really wasn't what I was expecting. You know, I wanted to support my friends, Jordan and her husband, Taylor, but it was turned out to be such a place of encouragement. We were just able to encourage one another, and I wouldn't have been able to find all these women on my own, you know, to gather together and to be able to encourage them and them encourage me and the different things we experience that we can share with one another, and then share scripture verses that have really been impactful and meant a lot to us. And since then, I've been huge supporters of the work that Faith Alive Ministries has been doing. I pray for them a lot, donate as much as I can, and just everything that Jordan said about what their intentions are, I have every confidence that that's exactly what they mean to do, because so far everything I've heard them plan out and do, they have been doing. So I hope you will support Dream House and what it's going to mean to this community. I think you'll all be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Starnes. And when you come up, ma'am, I need an address.
916 North 5th Street. Good evening. I work for Tillery Compassionate Care. I take care of people end of life. I have been in this home on 5th Street because I took care of the wife of Doug, who lived there. When his daughter told me what the plan was for this place, I thought that is amazing and perfect for this property. This home is on the street, just a house in between us, where I have lived for 25 years and raised my children, and now my grandchildren live next door. It is a wonderful, calm place that not only has the hospital right across the street, that you could send your husband running with your sick child if you needed to, that I have done before, to the emergency room when we had the flu back many years ago. But there's also deer that are around, probably much to a menace to a lot of people who have plants, but since I killed them anyway, it doesn't matter. And, you know, you sit on the front porch and you see the squirrels and you see the deer, and now they've asphalted the little park across the street so we can walk around that area, and there's a seating area. But there's also an area behind this house that is fenced in, so I think that would be perfect. There's a lot of parking because there's a circle driveway. Several times my CNA would show up, my nurse, my social worker would show up, and I would show up, and it looked like there was nobody there because we'd be parked in the back. And so this is going to be a perfect place for this. I think this is going to be a blessing to our community and a place where these children can spend a night in a bed and feel a little bit normal. We have some wonderful neighbors, and I feel like Faith Alive Ministries is going to do a great job here, and we appreciate the opportunity to embrace them. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Cynthia Smith, 331 Leonard Avenue.
Good evening, respect to all of you in your respective places. My name is Cynthia Smith, and I am a widow. I have been a widow for almost 4 years. Losing my husband was devastating for me, and that meant I had to learn to do different things, like yard work, which I cannot do because I have asthma and allergy. So when I joined Faith Alive Ministry, they always send somebody to my house to help me. They are such a blessing to me. They pray for us. They encourage us. They treat us with love, kindness, and genuine compassion. And I feel like the Dream House would be a great asset to Stanley County for children and for the widows. They don't push religion on us, but they do honor what the Bible says. The Bible says to take care of the widows and the children, and that is what they do. And they make sure that we're taken care of, that we're provided for, and I greatly appreciate them. And I just think that the Dream House would be just a great asset for Stanley County. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Harrison, 401 Avondale.
Mayor Michael, Mayor Pro Tem Hall, and members of the Albemarle City Council. I'd like to begin by telling you a bit about our neighborhood. The houses around 936 North 5th Street consist of well over 95% owner-occupied single-family homes. There are a few rental properties. To my knowledge, none of them were close enough to get a notice for this hearing. They are occupied by long-term renters who fit well into the neighborhood. I know of 2 duplexes that are rental properties on corner lots that did not need rezoning when established. In addition, the sense of camaraderie in the neighborhood is stupendous. We take care of each other during times of illness or other times of distress by supplying meals, driving each other to appointments, and doing whatever, walking dogs or whatever else is needed. We socialize on our sidewalks and invite each other to share meals in our homes. In thinking about our neighborhood, I have several concerns about the purchase and rezoning of 936 North 5th Street. First, I question whether Faith Alive Ministries has strong enough finances to purchase and maintain this property. According to their website, they're still begging for money for their down payment and to cover the costs that are needed to bring the house up to code and to cover future costs and maintenance. My understanding is that they do not work with another larger church or denomination that could guarantee funds for this project. Secondly, I am not clear of the purpose of the house. They claim they want it for offices, and that is apparently the most consistent purpose of the house. Then they say they want to temporarily house children on the way to foster care because they don't want these children to sleep in other offices. They say that each child will stay for 1 night, or that's what they said last time, but they cite as an example of the need for their services 1 child that has lived at DSS for over 50 days. At one point, I understood them to say that families may also live in this house. Thirdly, rezoning one property in the middle of a residential block tends to disrupt neighborhoods. This property is flanked by 2 owner-occupied homes, and rezoning only one lot would communicate to Albemarle that none of us are safe from such patchwork zoning that mixes residential and other zonings with no plan for neighborhood unity. Such patchwork zoning would make our neighborhood less attractive to current and future residents. A better solution would be to rezone the entire block or to find another property already zoned for HMD. There is nothing positive about the removal of a child from the only home that child has known. I applaud Faith Alive Ministries for wanting to help some of the most vulnerable in our community. But there are plenty of reasons why this
Time's up, Ms.
property is not a good solution. I ask you to vote no and not rezone the property.
Bonnie Weinkauf, 933 North Sixth Street.
Thank you. I have no issue with Faith Alive. I have an issue with the choice. There are no sidewalks on Yadkin, on this segment of Fifth Street, on Avondale, or on Hawthorne. These are the surrounding streets. Directly across from the street is the entrance to the Levine Cancer Center, Community Care Clinic, Transition Clinic, Wound Clinic, Sanger Clinic, Disease Management, and Diabetes. The next driveway over is access to the ER and the staff entrance for the hospital. It's a code silver, that's a gun alert. The police come exactly off Fifth Street, and there are sirens running, not like ambulances that turn their sirens off a block away. Next door is a home with a swimming pool. I understand that's called an attractive nuisance. Also, at night, and last night at 2:45, the helicopter came in. I was sound asleep, and I know the helicopter left at 3:15 because they fly right over those streets and land on the ER, which is, you saw on that map, that entrance is directly there. I have no issue with what they do, with their purpose, with their mission, but surely there is a better place. Think about that huge place where the Department of Education was. Bedrooms could easily be on the inner area, offices up front. The larger meeting rooms could be playrooms, TV rooms, study care halls. There must be a better place since there are no sidewalks and there's so many cars in and out of there all hours of the night. It doesn't stop at 5 o'clock when people stop working at the clinic. That's where the hospital is. I ask you to reconsider all they've said, but please vote no for this location. It's not their purpose. I admire that. But please consider where they're trying to put it. It's a neighborhood, and that's a very, very busy spot. Goshen Medical is right there, 2 houses down, and people don't bother to come into the Goshen parking lot. They just pull over on Fifth Street, park their cars right there.
Ms. Weinkauf, will you get back to the microphone, please?
I'm sorry.
We come there in front of the microphone so we can hear you a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Goshen Medical is just 2 houses down. Many cars don't bother being in their parking lot. They just pull over on Fifth Street because that's where the entrance is. It is a busy, busy street. I would never even walk my dogs down that section of Fifth Street because there's so many cars in and out for the cancer center, for the clinics that are there, for the ER, for the staff, for the parking lot at the hospital. It's not a good choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. Sharon Hazlett, 930 North Sixth Street.
I'm learning to appreciate the availability that you make to us, that we'll be able to express ourselves, and just want to say thank you to each of you. I became aware of the potential sale of the home on Fifth Street, and I thought, wow, and I thought it was a collaboration between DSS and a group that was going to buy a home for them. That was the vague impression that I got. Later, I saw along with the for sale sign, there was a rezoning sign, and I checked this out, and I was like, well, why would there be a rezoning sign there? my interest comes as being part of a wonderful neighborhood. You've heard people already talk about the wonderful neighborhood, wonderful walking area. It's just a good neighborhood, and that's what we are. And I come to you also as a 10-year volunteer as a guardian ad litem. During that time, there was one instance that I had a child who was at DSS for over 3 weeks because of the difficulties in his life. He couldn't be placed. So I'm torn between two, torn between obviously a group that has a true heart for children, as I do, but I'm also here as a neighborhood resident. And my concern is that this is something that requires a rezoning, and that the rezoning is to medical, and that medical rezoning opens our neighborhood up to this list of 15 things, including a floral it could become at some point if the group outgrows that area. They would be able to sell it. It could be a floral shop. It could be a restaurant. I mean, the list, I know you're familiar with it. As just a regular citizen, I wasn't aware of things like this. And I do have a concern that the decision you all make, I guess, tonight is going to change our neighborhood, the future of our neighborhood. And to me, a neighborhood is just the heart of America. We live in a wonderful town. We live in a wonderful neighborhood. And I, too, like Bonnie just said, you know, is there not another option? Does it have to be that one house in this neighborhood that you have to make a decision on to change what our future might look like? And I would just appreciate you seeing it from that point of view, not from this compassionate group of people. That's not a decision. It's our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara Dickens, 42837 Vickers Store Road.
Good evening. Thank you again for letting us have the opportunity to come before you tonight and share a little bit of what Faith Alive Ministries does. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for Faith Alive Ministries, and I am also a foster mom. One thing I want to make very clear is that this is not a Stanley County DSS problem. This is a national crisis. And I want to make sure that the committee and those that are here understand that we are not pointing fingers at Stanley County DSS, because they are working within a broken system and they are doing all that they possibly can. Children are sleeping on floors at DSS offices across our nation. That's just the reality of the situation. Faith Alive Ministries, our goal is to come alongside DSS and these children so that that doesn't happen. But before we do that, one of the things that I want to point out is our first mission is to support current foster families and the children that are already in care. We do that because here in the state of North Carolina, in the last 2 years, we've lost 2,000 licensed foster families because of burnout and lack of support. The burnout is not a result of children's behavior. It is a result of us standing beside them and wiping tears that we did not cause. It's holding them through nights of nightmares that we did not create. It is literally walking along a child who has exhibited so much trauma in their life. And then communities, teachers, daycare centers, even those within the system that is supposed to support them, stigmatize these children. My foster daughter, I'm the 9th home that she has lived in. The 9th. Most of you probably would think by me saying that she's 13, 14, 15 years old. She's 6. And because of burnout within a broken system, so many of her foster families just couldn't do it. And I can tell you, after she's been in my house for almost 365 days now, we are coming up on her gotcha anniversary. If I did not have the support of my foster community through Faith Alive Ministries, I would not make it. Because I fight that stigma every day, not just personally, but professionally. Faith Alive Ministries comes alongside kinship, adoptive, and foster families to offer that support. We do that through Foster Care Connections, which is held off-site at neighboring churches and communities, such as Skate City. We've had many nights there where we just offer a free night of skating for these kids. We get volunteers throughout the community, and my time is up.
Time's up.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Renee Para, 839 Highway 52 North, New London.
Take your time, ma'am.
My name is Renee Para, and I'm here to bring light to a scripture. The scripture is what they've mentioned, but nobody has read it tonight. And I'm going to read it. James 1:27 says, true spirituality, true Christianity that is pure in the eyes of our Father God is to make a difference in the lives of orphans and widows, in their troubles and their distresses. I can relate to both of these categories. For many years, my mom and dad kept foster children. In fact, my brother was adopted at the age of 4 by my mom and dad. We gave him all kind of love and affection because he needed it. But my mom and dad had no support like this. They did it on their own. And my brother grew up to have a family, raise a family, and be a welder. Years later, when I got married to my husband, I told him about that, and I said, I want to be a foster mama one day. So after we had our children, we decided to go through the MAP classes and become foster parents. And I had many children in my home. And what you just heard from Tara is so true. It's hard. It's really hard. And these children are suffering, and they need people to love them. That's all they need. They need somebody to lay beside them in the bed at night and tell them that they're okay. It's going to be okay. And that they're loved. We did that with the final child that we had, more than any of the rest of them, and we got to keep her. And you know her. My daughter is 25 years old now, ran for Miss Stanley County and got first runner-up, Miss Talent, Miss Congeniality. Not all foster children are bad. Not all foster children turn out wrong. They just need love and affection. They need a place of people to care for them. I believe this is why we should partner with the Dream House. They just want to love them. They just want to support foster families. The other thing I need to talk about quickly is I'm also a widow. When my husband passed away about 4 years ago, this left me devastated, and I did not know what to do with my life. But I knew I needed community, and I found FAM, and they have helped me in numerous ways. I could not have made it without them. We need this ministry. We need Stanley County to stand up and be a light to this area so other communities will do the same thing. My daughter is not from this county. They called me from a neighboring county, y'all, because they had no foster families to take her, and I took her. We need to be that light. Stanley County needs to stand up and make a difference in the life of these children and in the life of widows like me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all I had that signed up. This is a public hearing. Anyone else care to speak? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. I'll open the floor for discussion.
Your Honor, I have a question, if I may, and first and foremost, I want to say, it's regardless of what your, viewpoint is on this, I think it's very important that this is a very, very crucial mission to our community. We had several people stand up in the public hearing from, I think it's Women of Purpose. And I'm just asking for clarification, based on the previous meeting when we began the public hearing, it was mentioned that this was gonna be only for children, maybe 2 or 3 employees of the, Faith Alive Ministries. But we've heard multiple people tonight speak about the Women of Purpose and meeting and being a support group. So just for my clarification and understanding, is this also going to be a meeting spot for the Women of Purpose?
Ms. Whitley, come back up to the microphone, please.
We have existing partnerships with 3 churches that host our Women of Purpose gatherings right now. There's no reason that we can't continue those. When we talk about meeting with widows in the home, it would be a much smaller setting. Our Albemarle meeting right now averages 4 to 6 women, so you're not looking at vast amounts. We haven't decided that we would move those church gatherings into the home, but there is an opportunity if women needed to meet one-on-one, we would have a more convenient space to do that. Our current office space that we lease, we share with a machine shop, and there's CNC machines running all day long. It's not really conducive to having deep spiritual and emotional conversations. So no, there's no plan in place that we've said all of our gatherings would move into the home. I think it's just more that it would be a resource center and widows could come there for connection and meeting one-on-one with each other or with staff if needed.
If a child happen to be on site, you would use discretion and move the Women of Purpose elsewhere?
It would actually never happen at the same time. Yeah, so Women of Purpose, if they were coming in to meet with office staff, they would be coming during our 8 to 4 office hours. We would have a policy in place for DSS where essentially they would take possession or ownership of the home from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. It's really just for those evening hours. DSS is still going to be responsible for finding where those children go during the day. Ideally, those children should be in school if it's during the school year, but they do have a visitation room where the kids stay during the day. This just gives them a little bit of normalcy in the evening hours to be in a home with a kitchen and bedroom.
And one other question, Mayor, Mayor, if
Go
I
ahead,
may.
go ahead.
I heard one of the speakers indicate something about families. I hadn't seen any evidence presented that say a family would be.
No, I didn't know where that came from either. The goal is not to have anybody permanently living there ever. You know, none of our staff is staying in the home. In fact, you know, when we approached the city with this idea, they asked if we could do that instead. Why don't we just buy the house and have a family there? Baptist Children's Home has a similar model. We are a small scale nonprofit though, so we can't really continue leasing out an office space and take on a mortgage of a home and try to find a family to staff it. So no family is going to be moving into the home.
So let me make sure that we understand now, because I heard that comment too. But you're saying when the child is there, it'll be nobody but DSS, and none of the family will be there with that child.
No, sir.
Because
No.
DSS is taking custody of the child.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Brown?
I want to make sure we're deciding on the right issue. I appreciate what you folks have said about how good this Faith Alive ministry is. And I support you totally. But that's not what we're deciding here. We all would agree, I think everybody would agree that is a ministry and it's needed and so forth. What we've got to decide, does it need to be in that single location? I drove up by there yesterday, well, this morning. That's a beautiful neighborhood. It really is. But I also looked to the front of it and to the north of it, and there are all sorts of property there that's already zoned medical. Why can't you put a house in there and have it where it properly belongs in the medical, and not have a little sliver out of this beautiful community zoned for something else?
It's actually very intentional, sir. We really actually like the idea that it has the feel of a neighborhood. The goal is not to move children from DSS office into another office. The goal is to bring them into a home so that they feel like they're not staying in a sterile office environment. So for us, the home makes perfect sense because it can play the role of both from the outside. We're not changing anything to the outside of the home.
A front living room will be a reception area. A back living room will be office space for our small staff. We have another bedroom that'll be office space, but it will be very much so set up as a home. It's actually perfect location though, because it gives the feel of being in a neighborhood, so a child has a sense of normalcy, but we're also within sight of Stanley County DSS, so we're not asking them to drive, 20 miles to the other end of the county. So we actually think the location is a godsend for us. It kind of meets both needs that we have as far as office during the day, but a house at night.
There are 14 lots in that block. Why aren't some of those people here arguing on your behalf?
She did actually.
In that block?
Yes, yes, sir.
There
Right,
was- there was one.
two,
One person.
two doors down.
One
Yes.
person and 4 others who don't.
I just have some comments and some questions, so you may want to stay there, Jordan. Um, For complete transparency, as I'm sitting here counting, I live 4 blocks away from from this particular house. Number one. Number two, everybody that spoke, well, maybe not everybody, of the 11 or 12, I probably know personally 8 of you all. And living in the neighborhood, I mean, I see Elizabeth, Bonnie, and Sharon all the time, walking on 5th Street. Strike that, walking on 6th Street where there is sidewalks, or there are sidewalks. On 6th Street, on 5th Street where this one is located, at that particular block, or that particular 2 blocks, from the corner of Yadkin down to the corner of Hawthorne, there are no sidewalks on either side. I think that's correct, if I'm thinking correctly. So I've got an issue. I mean, I live there. Someone mentioned, and I loved this analogy of patchwork zoning. We've talked about that kind of zoning, not using those kinds of words before, I have in my many years up here. I'm really concerned about parking. And then somebody said that there was, I mean, I could tell that there's a driveway. Does it go all the way around?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
And come out the other side?
It does.
Okay, so I didn't, when I walked by there, I guess I didn't pay attention, but it goes all the way around.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a carport that, holds-
Go to the mic if you,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you. No,
There's a
can't-
carport that would hold 2 vehicles, and a garage that holds 1 vehicle. So essentially, staff cars, because of the way we're several part-time, the way staffing falls and when we're all there at one time, our cars would never be blocking the circle drive. So we would have an abundance of parking for all purposes that we're using it for right now.
It appears from the road and from the pictures that there might be not just a driveway behind the house, but adequate space back there for additional vehicles. Is that correct?
There is, yes, ma'am. There's quite a bit of like concrete pavers, and they've done a lot of work back there. It's absolutely beautiful, and the fenced-in yard is actually one of the things that appealed to us about the home, because we're able to have an area for kids to play in where they would be safe. And can I speak to the lack of sidewalks? I know that people have said they're concerned about children being there overnight, but if the home stays residential, what's to stop a family with 3 or 4 children moving into the home? We can't control those children moving in and playing out in the front yard. These children, I dare would say, would have more supervision than a residential family moving in ever, because they're under, close supervision of 2 adults at all times.
So my last question, and you may have answered this a bit ago, you all will, Faith Alive Ministries will be in the house during 8 to 4.
Yes, ma'am.
You will allow DSS to come in and, as you said, take control of or responsibility of the facility from 6 to 6 or 6 to 8.
Yes, ma'am.
And you all will not be there.
Correct.
So that will be a time, if there is a child, that would be the only time a child would be there.
Yes, ma'am.
It's nighttime through breakfast.
Yes, ma'am.
So the issue of sidewalks is not really a needed thing because they wouldn't be out there and it's not really playtime. Now, granted, they could be playing right now until 9 o'clock, but in the depth of winter, maybe not.
Right.
My last question, before I have that question, the mission of Faith Alive Ministries is phenomenal. And I think there's no one that spoke either for or against this tonight that would not agree with that. That the mission is there, that the need is there, and it's great. Is there not, strike that, let me go back. What is the draw? I mean, I understand, I've heard you say it, the positive is in it. What is the draw for it being where you want it?
I think our heart is to be central to Albemarle because, you know, the agency that we're working with is right there within eyesight of us. We've looked at other places in the county, but social workers are driving hours to different counties to schedule visits and to pick up kids. So if we can alleviate some of that burden by being 2 seconds down the road so that at the end of their shift, they're not having to drive to Oakboro or New London or anywhere else in the county, we're really giving them an added service and value. We're not a government affiliated organization by any means, but we really have tried to come alongside and support DSS and their efforts for the kids that are in foster care.
Thank you.
Further questions?
I do, Your Honor. I will ask Ms. Whitley again, if you would, at the last meeting, like I said, we hadn't heard anything about Women of Purpose.
Right.
And I think and I don't want to speak for the people that were kind of the neighborhood folks that supported in opposition to the location of this proposal. I think one of their biggest hiccups, if you will, was the amount of traffic, in and out, during the day, during the night, things of that nature. I know Ms. Weinkauf shared about the helicopter coming in, knowing exactly what time it came and exactly what time it left and things of that nature. So did I hear you right when you said that it's not going to be a place for Women of Purpose, or it may be
No, can I mention why so many of the women of purpose showed up today? Is because last meeting, so much of the opposition was against a program that we are trying to implement, that is our goal to do. And we recognize there's nobody else. We've tried, believe me, there's nobody else doing what we're proposing to do as far as a nonprofit that in the evening hours offers this service. So I think our heart in having several of the widows that we serve come is to explain that there's already tremendous good and impact that the ministry is bringing. And regardless of what happens with the program that we're trying to implement with DSS, we are adding value to our community. But as far as the meeting space, as I said, we have ongoing partnerships. We've been meeting at Greater Life Church, The Gathering, and First Assembly for the past 3 years. There's no reason to rock the boat. If we had 20 women showing up to those meetings and we stay in those churches, those programs will continue. We thrive on church partnerships. That's why they host our Fostering Connections events. The house is a hub for ministry. And so if there are 2 widows who would like to come and meet in the home and have a one-on-one Bible study, we're not opposed to that, but we're not looking to bring mass gatherings. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the most that we've ever had come into our office has been 6 or 7 when we've done like volunteer appreciation and we do a drop-in for volunteers to come by once a year. But even that is, extended over several hours, so you have people kind of coming in and out. It's no more than you would have at your family for a Thanksgiving dinner. We're not looking to have mass assembly space in the home. As I said, all of our Women of Purpose gatherings are already taking places with our church partners, and there's no reason to rock the boat with that. It's more that it can be a resource center for those women to come if they need to speak with staff or they need emotional support that day, or if they want to sit and have a cup of tea with each other, we can say, yeah, absolutely, come sit down and use the space as a central meeting spot. But we're not looking to do mass gatherings or assemblies in the home.
Well, I will say this. I think that, again, I said earlier and I'll say it again, I think that that the ministry that you provide to the community is invaluable. I mean, there's such a need for that. But I will also echo with what some of my fellow council members here is, this is a hard job sitting up here. And I mean, you want to vote, what does your heart tell you, to do? And then also we've talked about spot zoning and what the repercussions are when you specifically identify one location and you change the zoning for that location. What are some of the effects of that? So it's, but again, I want to say thank you so much for what you do for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just Jesus. It really is. He's blessed what we've done, and he gets all glory for anything good that we do.
Again, I want to back up what he said. There's no way we can be opposed to what you're doing. There's no way. It's a wonderful thing. But again, when I look at all that property around there that's already zoned medical, why aren't you in one of those?
Are there houses that are zoned medical in that area?
Well, why don't you build one? What's the difference between building one and buying one?
A few $100,000.
I mean, there's property there already zoned.
Mayor,
Further questions?
I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, just a minute. Thank you, Ms. Whitley.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time.
And as council is preparing to make a motion on this, I will remind you, everybody here, that they're not voting on what you're wanting to do. They're voting on whether this piece of property should be rezoned to Hospital Medical District. Mr. Townsend?
I'd like to entertain a motion that we approve zoning map amendment 25-01 with the statement of consistency and reasonableness.
I have a motion by Councilmember Townsend based on the statement of consistency and reasonableness.
Mayor, can we also get a rationale for that approval?
Sure.
So you want,
Just a reasoning for the approval. We can say with the statement of consistency, but we just need a little detail as to what the belief is behind the approval.
Because of the purpose of that date, the ministry would serve in working in partnership with the Department of Social Service, and with it being adjacent to the current medical facilities as well as Department of Social Service.
Do I have a second?
for a matter of discussion, yes.
Second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion? Any further discussion?
Just one question. So I'm looking at the map. I am looking at the map, and it appears that HMD, and Brittany, you may need to come up here. It appears to me that HMD goes from Avondale over to Hawthorne. Is that correct? Because I only have
Yes,
a portion.
those are medical offices over there as well.
So the house that is at the corner of Hawthorne and 6th, there we go. Hawthorne and 5th, thank you. That I believe that traveling doctors and that kind of thing live in, or stay in. Isn't that what they still do there?
Is that old Snug house?
Right at the corner of
At the corner.
of Fifth Street and Hawthorne.
Yeah.
It's beside the open lot, which is beside,
I was thinking Hawthorne or Avondale and shit.
isn't that right? Yeah.
Between Goshen.
Between Goshen
Yeah.
and the open lot and then that house.
Yeah.
All three of those are currently
Yeah.
zoned HMD.
They
Is that
are.
correct?
Yeah.
And then across the street, we go back in to R something.
R10.
Okay.
Yes.
I think also on an adjoining street that intersects into Fifth Street, there is another house that is being utilized by the hospital.
Yeah, many of the homes surrounding the hospital over here on Hawthorne have been converted into medical offices. If you drive by, I think there's a dentist office over there.
That's on 6th Street.
Is that on 6th
Yeah,
Street?
that's not a house.
Yeah, that's not a
Those were
house.
medical
That was an
buildings,
office.
never built.
Were they always medical buildings?
Yeah,
They were.
built it there.
The homes on Hawthorne are zoned hospital medical, and I'm not sure if they have been converted or not for business use or if they're still in residential use.
Further questions?
So,
Yeah, I second it so we could discuss it.
well, I do have one other question, because it's been brought up a couple times, and I think it was actually mentioned at the last, when we started this conversation. The sale of this property is contingent on how this council votes, is that correct?
Further question? All right. All in favor of approving the motion for the statement of consistency with reasonableness, raise your hand. All opposed? Ms. Holland,
Whoops,
you opposed?
I'm opposed.
It's tied 3-3. As I said earlier,
Wait a minute.
as
How
I
do you
said
vote,
earlier,
Martha Sue?
she's opposed. She was opposed. It's tied 3-3.
How did you vote, Benton?
He voted opposed.
That's 4-3.
I voted for it, Dexter voted for it, and David voted for it.
Oh, you voted for it.
I did.
Okay.
Then
Now,
then it fails.
As I
3-3.
said earlier,
Ronnie.
as I said earlier, if I can get this out, I'm not opposed to what the reason to use the house or the method to use the house. I do have concerns that we are breaking up a residential lot where the entire block is residential, and we consistently hear that we do not have affordable housing in our city, and therefore I am going to vote no. Now, the motion for consistency fails. Council, you have an option now of choosing one of the other two motions, inconsistency or future land use map. I need a motion for one of those.
Did you say for inconsistency, Your Honor?
Inconsistency.
Statement for inconsistency and unreasonableness, and if
So
you
moved.
use that, I need a reason.
The reason being that it disrupts the natural course of how the zoning has taken place and breaking up splitting up neighborhoods between different types of dwellings, and the use thereof is to me, in conflict of what we set out to do as we did zoning years ago. And we set right now, if we go the other way, we're going to set a precedent that might be a little difficult to deal with in the future. It's not that I'm against what they're wanting to do, in full favor of that. And I would be happy to look and say, where can we find other areas that would not break up neighborhoods? And in God's eyes, that may not be the right thing to do. But in reality, as Bill said, we have to make hard decisions. And this is probably the hardest one I've ever had to make. But at the same time, I'm not willing to see zoning overshadow what we need to have for consistency in our neighborhoods.
I have a
And-
motion by Councilmember Dry to approve the statement of inconsistency and unreasonableness. Do I have a second?
I second.
Yeah.
Have a second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion?
I think that Councilmember Dry spoke it so eloquently. This is not an issue of doing it. This is an issue of where it's placed. And over my many years when we have, I mean, I like the word that you used, somebody used about patchwork zoning, but over the many years of elected being sitting here in this hard position, we use spot zoning, and that's been a reference so many times. And we do open up cans of worms when we go into spot zone, just one piece, a parcel in a particular area.
So when an applicant come forward for a request of this nature, what, is it not, can staff not recommend spot zoning instead of a whole block or something of that nature to eliminate situations like this?
Well, you don't do spot zone.
Yeah.
You avoid spot
Yeah,
zone.
that's
And
what,
that's what you're saying, this appears to be spot zoning.
Well, you also have to go back to the planning and zoning. They voted unanimously 4-0 to approve this, correct?
They did.
So, I can tell you, and again, full transparency, sitting up here, I'm not a fan of, and I mentioned a minute ago, the spot zoning. And if this location were not sitting where it's sitting at, basically adjacent to the hospital right across the street, it would have been a hard no for me. It would have. But I mean, to Councilmember Townsend's point, I think that, what information did the Planning and Zoning Committee get that they voted unanimously 4-0? I mean, I realize we have the final vote, we have the end vote on that, but, again, it's tough. I mean, it really is. It's a tough deal sitting up here, because again, it's, you don't want to have anybody suffer. You don't want to have a child suffering. If you turn something down, you don't want to have neighbors, suffering as well in certain situations. It's tough. I mean, it is tough.
Okay. Any further questions?
Ms. Whitley, something was brought up earlier about the houses that the hospital owns for folks coming in, doctors, to have a place to stay until such time as they relocate here. Have you thought about approaching the hospital and inquiring?
Let me stop
if-
you just a
Okay,
minute.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Rye. Let's have the vote, then you
Okay,
can have that
all right.
discussion.
All right.
All right. All in favor of the motion to approve the statement of inconsistency and unreasonableness, raise your hand.
Mayor, can we also clarify that this is in regards to a denial of the rezoning with the inconsistency statement? Because I think
Yes.
you're, okay.
Yes.
all right.
I think that's got to be with the,
Now, see, that wasn't stated.
that wasn't stated on the motion.
I will withdraw my second.
That was not was stated with the motion.
All right. If
Wait a
you
minute,
will,
I don't
read,
understand.
all right, everybody read the statement of inconsistency and unreasonableness in front of you. It says it is inconsistent with the adopted 2028 land use plan, and therefore it is denied, is what the motion is. Now, you're withdrawing I have a motion then by Councilmember Dry. Do I have a second?
Now, let me, I got a question on that. If we voted not to do it. does
You
it-
voted not to approve the consistency. You haven't taken an action either way yet, because you've not approved something. You have to
if
approve.
you-
You either have to do consistency, inconsistency, or future land use management.
There's a statement of obviousness here. If it's
Ms.
not
Birch.
consistent, it has to be inconsistent.
Ms. Birch,
So I think the initial motion was to approve it with the consistency statement. And obviously that motion failed, and I believe the mayor has called a second motion to deny it because to deny it based on a rationale that the rezoning isn't reasonable based on the rationale that was previously presented. So we're looking for a motion to be seconded on that account and a vote to give a final adjudication of the matter of a denial because it's unreasonable, is what my understanding is of what's happening.
So point of clarification. It would not just be a statement of inconsistency. It would be a statement to oppose the rezoning with the
Because-
statement of inconsistency.
Correct.
That's what the motion needs to be.
That is what the motion needs to be. It's not, you can't just
And
approve the
unreasonable.
statement alone.
That's right. So it's not just that statement. It is a motion to deny with a statement of inconsistency and unreasonable.
Can I add, because if you want to approve it and say that it is inconsistent with the existing future land use map, then you would approve it with the statement of the future land use map amendment.
Right.
So just using this inconsistency statement as the only statement and then the rationale, you're issuing a denial.
For some reason, I thought that's what I heard.
I had a
about
feeling.
The land use.
Okay, is there any question about what Mr. Dry's motion is? His motion is to deny based on the statement of inconsistency and unreasonable. Is there any question about that?
Only thing I'll say is I thought we did that when we did not vote to approve it. I don't understand why we have to do this.
You have to be on the record with a statement.
The general statutes will require that, Mr. Franklin.
Is the land use plan included? Does the land use plan say specifically that that lot can be medical?
It's shaded orange and blue.
All right, let's just stop a minute. We're following the law, so we got to do this second motion. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes, you do.
A second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion? All right, all those in favor of denying it based on the statement of inconsistency and unreasonableness, raise your hand. 3. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3. Mayor approves. Thank you, staff, and thank you to everyone that came tonight. Hopefully you can find somewhere else to do this. This was just not the location for that home to break up a general residential area. So I hope and wish you well in finding another location, because we do support your mission. Thank you.
The very few times that I felt that my heart just hurts.
Jacob, will you get the door for me, please? Moving on to consent agenda, consider road closure for the Anderson Ridge Block Party. Council, before you approve that, let me make you aware of one portion that mentions in there about having a bounce house. If you approve this, at this point, you should approve it with the condition that the bounce house not be located in the roadway. Now, I'm sure this is going to be coming to council very soon to make a decision on bounce houses, but right now, our policy is we will not allow bounce houses in the roadway because our insurance carrier will not cover us. But that will be coming to council, I think, to be considered very soon for a possible change.
So I see what's on there. I see it's part of the consent agenda, and I see where it's going to be. I've not been able to find if this is something they've done on a regular basis. Is it?
They periodically, they had done it consistently, but they have had a lot of block parties. At times it have been down in the common area.
Yes,
But
yes.
there have been situations where it's been,
So help me, show me where Foster Lane is over there.
well, I tell you, Smokehouse is in circle, it's like a big circle.
Yes.
And Foster Lane is kind of like one of the roads in between.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Like a
It's
cut
not,
through.
And actually, the person making the recommendation actually reside on Foster Lane, so.
You put that on the
Just hopefully
go in-
show you.
So if you go in the main
Let me
gate
try to pull this.
yeah,
and hang a right,
yes.
see that the first, the second street back to your left is Foster.
I guess that's a new road for me, and I just know Smokehouse is the big one. Okay, so it's not, it wouldn't be shutting down traffic?
No.
Okay, I just couldn't figure it out. Thank you.
Council, what's your pleasure?
I
Move approval,
with the recommendation. that he said about
whatever.
the bounce house.
About the bounce
Motion
house?
to approve with the recommendation that the bounce house be located on private property and not in a public street. Have a motion by Councilmember Bramlett,
Second.
second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Moving to new business, appointment of Planning and Zoning Board. We have one that we missed the last time. It was Scott St. John. He would be completion of a term that would end June 30th of 2028.
So moved.
Motion by
Reappoint.
Councilmember Dry,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next is to consider a proposal for services, and Mr. Clark, I'm gonna let you take that one.
Yes, sir, thank you. Mayor and Council, if you will recall, this past spring, we had made a decision to sever our relationship with a contractor who was performing rehabilitation on multiple units at our public housing complex. We currently, let me back up. When we made that decision, the contractor was put on notice that he would be given a period of about 30 days to complete some additional work. He voluntarily decided to discontinue his work, and so at that point, based upon the fact that the work was being completed at a very slow pace, and we felt the need to locate another contractor to step up the pace of getting these units rehabilitated and back in service, we decided that we wanted to go back out for bids to do that work and seek another contractor. So the prior contractor did discontinue his work around the time frame of April. We did work to contact Stogner Architecture, and Mr. Stogner, thank you for being here tonight. We had asked him to do basically a complete assessment of the properties over there, and you have a copy of that in your agenda packet tonight. What you are being asked to consider is essentially a contract for sewer line replacements for what we're calling Phase 2 of the work, which incorporates 20 units that are in some phase of demolition. The proposal here would incorporate, and I reference page 4, and I will review this for you. The scope of work for the replacement and improvements to the sewer lines to 20 units in Phase 2 would include those on Inger Street, units 1508 and 1510, 1515 and 1517, 1500 and 1502. Units on Grigg Street, 412, 414, 439, 441, 448, Unit 450, 455, and 457. Units on South Bell Avenue, 401, 403, 414, 416, 423, 425, 431, and 433. The services that Mr. Stogner is proposing are listed there. There are 8 points, which includes field review of existing site conditions, which essentially has been completed, review to determine any special local requirements, prepare scope of work and review with city and the Department of Public Housing, and make any adjustments as needed to include design and field modifications during construction, providing project manual, including bid documents and specifications, sealed architectural drawings, then proceeding from the architectural drawings and project manual to bid and award administration, including attendance at one of our pre-bid conferences, or at one pre-bid conference. Construction observation visits as related to design, including one on-site pre-construction conference and bi-monthly observation visits, and then project closeout, including final document package. There are modifications that may be allowed during construction. The A&E, architect, engineer, or their representative shall make construction observation visits during the construction time of 180 calendar days. Also, throughout the course of the project, he shall assist us, the city, with administration of the project, providing assistance with contractor pay requisitions, requesting wage rates, checking contractor and subcontractor payrolls, and performing employee payroll interviews. And during the warranty period, he will check with us, the owner, and if needed, make one visit to the site approximately 9 months after completion and acceptance. The fixed fee is listed there for you, with a total of $105,790 for the project services, which I just reviewed for you. Again, these are for Mr. Stogner's services. This does not include the actual construction bid, which we will have to put out once, if this contract is approved. That would be the next step for these 20 units. I will make note that this does not include, as referenced herein, the vacancy prep crew. So the vacancy prep crew would be a second contract that the city would have to let to do all other work that is not associated with the repair and installation rehabilitation of the sewer appurtenances to each unit. Now, that does include, when I say sewer, it's everything external to the unit and everything internal, and anything that has been or will be disturbed related to the sewer work only. Everything else will have to be bid out separately through another contractor. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. And our assistant city manager and I will be working with our housing director to put that RFP together and bring that to you at a subsequent meeting for consideration. We are presently doing environmental assessments of the units. That will have to be done separately as well. That is not included in the contract. And so, Mayor and Council, that's what we have discussed and has been reviewed with Mr. Stogner. Again, I feel like he's done a very comprehensive review of all of the units and gone into great detail as to what needs to be completed and what would be included under his contract.
Council have any questions of Mr. Clark?
I don't know, it sounds like we're trying to outrun a snowball coming down the hill.
Ms. Hall?
I do have a question, and it may not be fair to address this to Mr. Clark. But have we not didn't we just go through the same kind of thing with this sewer problem, Ronnie, a year ago, 18 months ago?
We've not entered into a contract, if that's what you're asking.
No, but the issue, we've not entered into a contract to get all of this study done, but we have, these are the same, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken, these are the same
These
units.
are the same issues
units.
we have been hearing that have not been completed yet.
That's right.
Exactly correct.
And so as it's presented tonight,
Just to clarify that for the board, these issues will continue until every apartment in your complex has been reworked. What the staff is trying to do is pick out the ones that are the most problematic now and do them in phases over a period of years. You have what is typically referred to as a recycle team that has been doing some of the work in the past. They've done a lot of demolition, some put back, I understand. The units that we're looking at specifically that staff asked us to look at, we're actually including 22 units instead of 20 because the staff had asked us to switch out 2 units and then they changed their mind back. So we just said we're going to do all 22, and if we don't need to award them all at the time, that's fine. But
We'll
we've
do what
already
money
done a
allows
lot
us
of
to do. Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, the inconsistency that is the biggest concern that we would all have is you're going to have a sewer contractor doing a fair amount of work, and then you're gonna have a recycle crew doing the remaining work. You know, it's, as long as your recycle crew is qualified, you know, the two contractors can work together, this can move along pretty smoothly. And understand from the staff that they are preparing an RFP for that service now because your last contractor is no longer working with. There'll be a few unknowns as we open up walls. We've seen rot in some of the framing. You know, occasionally you might find some mold. The recycle crew had inadvertently cut some electrical wires when they were doing demolition. And as those are, some are abandoned, some are still need to be in use, so those will have to be repaired, things of that nature.
Further questions, council? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Dry,
Second.
second by Councilmember Aldridge. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
One against. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, board. I would like to say, based on what we thought the urgency of this when we first got started, we have already been working on it. We just took a chance because we knew it was so urgent. So my expectation is within 6 weeks, we'll be finished up and ready to go to bid. We're probably 85% at the moment. You know, tomorrow my staff will pick back up and we'll start moving toward getting it ready to go to bid.
Thank you.
It's interesting that this delivery order is dated April 14th. And here it is, July 6th before we get it. Yep.
Yeah, it's, I'm not sure, sometimes the process moves slowly.
We had a number of things to work through, Mr.
Right.
Stockner, did we not?
Yeah, that's not been a problem, but we had anticipated everything would move quicker, so we just decided this was urgent enough to get these units back online, and we had a time slot, so I told my guys to move this project ahead of another one that was what we considered less critical.
We're not on the 7-day process.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Moving to city manager report, Mr. Clark.
Mayor and Council, thank you. Just a couple of things to note. In speaking with Police Chief Manley today, we had a successful July 4th event. Maybe I should say it was uneventful event, but we had a great Wildcats game. A lot of great a great event for the community, and the fireworks went off without a problem. No other major or issues to report to you. None reported by the fire department. Over the holiday, we did have one small electric outage that affected 12 customers for about 1 hour. So the electric crew did a great job getting everybody back on quickly. Speaking of public utilities, we also anticipate dredging to begin at Tucker Down Reservoir in August, and that's related to the said basins there, the lagoons where we had some issues. So Brian will be meeting with our contractor with regard to that project. In that regard, also Tom Johnson has been announced as our new Public Utilities Director. He starts on July 21st, so he and Brian are going to have a lot to jump into and get busy with as far as projects coming up. Want to go back to the police department for a moment. You can expect an annual report from the police department on July 21st at that agenda. And also, I'm working with Ross and Public Works to bring you a recommendation at the July 21st meeting for recommendation for a major street repaving project, which means full depth reclamation, and it will be an expensive project, but we will bring you a recommendation then. Lindsay also wanted me to mention tonight that we had three new vendors for our North Carolina Seniors Farmers Market Nutrition Program. They have joined the Downtown Albemarle Farmers Market as participants in the North Carolina Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, bringing our total to 10 vendors. The farmer's market is certified to accept vouchers through this program, which helps eligible low-income seniors purchase fresh fruits and vegetables from local farmers between July 1st and September 30th of each year. And of course, the market's open Saturdays and Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Any seniors that are interested in learning more or applying for the program should contact Stanley County Senior Services for assistance. Mayor and Council, that concludes just a few comments I wanted to leave with you tonight. Happy to answer any questions or receive any comments.
Thank you, Mr.
The status of the meter replacement.
Yes, sir. Started today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is the staff installing this, or?
I'm going to ask Brian to come up to comment on it, but this is contracted work, and I reached out to our lead on that, Jonathan Meisenhammer, earlier today, and Jonathan did inform me that our contractors are wearing recognizable uniforms, and they should be, recognized as agents of the city. And our police department's also been made aware that they are out doing that work as well. Brian, you have any other update comments?
Yeah, they started today. Next Gen is who we contracted with to help start our meter replacement program. They started today, got a late start. They were expecting to get about 75 meters changed a day. I think anticipated the rest of the week about 100 to 150 a day. And they do have magnets on their truck to identify City of Albemarle contractors, and they have badges identifying themselves as contractors for City of Albemarle.
So it's all contracted out to install by them, and are we as a city or staff buzzing through these areas as, if you will, liaisons regarding the installation?
We are periodically. We touch base with them in the morning before they get started and kind of reconcile which routes they're going to do that day and which direction they'll be headed. And then throughout the day, Brian Chandler with Electric may buzz in and check on them, and they have Jonathan Meisenhammer's contact if they hit a situation where they may not be able to get into a closed gate or a closed area or a customer's not there. They're notifying each customer as they're going up and knocking on doors to ensure that nobody's in the home working at the time, because of power outages as far as changing the meters out, 10, 15 seconds, just so they can anticipate any outages the customer concerns they may have. But right now, everything's going through Jonathan Meisenhammer with that if they have any questions, and they're building up a feedbacks so we can contact those customers as they come up.
Okay. That's the purpose, so that anybody in the community, if they have a question, what do they need to do? Where do they need to go? Thank you very much.
How long are they anticipating the changeover to take?
We are hoping to be finished up around December. Yeah, with about 12,000 meters.
Council, we have a rather lengthy closed session, but do anyone have anything you need to bring before council?
Just that on Thursday, there was a comment given to me at the Wampus Cats game about Waste Management had not picked up some stuff on 9th Street. That was on Thursday evening. Thanks, Todd, because my understanding, it got picked up first thing on Saturday morning. Just for clarification, last week I know we got some information about blasting.
Once you get in the microphone.
We got information about blasting that was to have occurred last Monday afternoon. And I guess I misunderstood. Maybe everybody did, but first I had heard about it was on Monday, and it was going to take place Monday afternoon. I did not hear from the people that I usually hear from. Whether or not they were home, I'm not sure. But help me understand. It's not the city's responsibility. It's the vendor's responsibility to let those neighbors know. Is that correct?
Right.
We have just been, but I thought Kenny had said they had gone out at some point to some folks within certain number of feet to let them know in the past, but that's not part of what we have to do now. Is that correct?
That's correct. There is a circumference around the area. I can't remember the footage, but it is the blasting agent's responsibility to notify those around
Very
in
good.
the neighborhood.
Very good.
Anything further? I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 31811, A2, 3, 4, and 6 to prevent the premature disclosure of an award, consult with the city attorney, economic development, and personnel.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Dry, second by Councilmember Aldridge. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.